I have wanted to make this video for a very long time, but I think, honestly, I didn't have the courage to say these things. But the truth is that more than anything, I want to be a good person, but in this one thing, no matter what I do, I have been a complete failure. Will I ever be able to overcome myself? But first, as always, we start with the Laudare Mission.
With firm faith, I believe and profess everything that the Catholic Church teaches. But for many reasons, the fullness of that message hasn't been getting out lately. What if we, together, set out to learn the faith, to live the faith, and to share this faith, like missionaries of old? What would the world look like in 100 years?
Life did not turn out to be what I expected. Back in the 80s, MTV showed an entirely different picture of the world. I thought my parents were missing out on life because they went to work, they drove in traffic, they came home every night exhausted from the day. And when the weekend came, I wanted to go out and have fun, but my parents just wanted to catch up on chores and run errands. While I was attracted to the big lights and the fast cars and the loud music and the thrilling parties that I saw on TV, I thought my parents must have had things backwards. They must have been old-fashioned. Things were different now. So I made the decision to go out into the world and pursue the riches and the pleasures that were now available in this brave new world. But after decades of pursuing all of these earthly treasures, I realized something very strange, that no matter how much pleasure I experienced, I was never happy. I was never satisfied. The achievement of pleasure just led to the hunger for more pleasure, and I needed this pleasure just to be happy. I began to realize that there was never enough pleasure to actually make me happy. I couldn't ever eat enough pizza or donuts to achieve this, to achieve happiness. I would get sick before I would get happy, if that makes any sense. This MTV life, it never happened. I could never achieve it. No matter what I did, it was always just out of reach. So I started to wonder, is the drunk ever truly happy if he has to be drunk to be happy? What is truly happy about his life if he's always seeking to escape it by getting drunk? And wouldn't he be more happy if he fixed it? So eventually, I had to grow up and I had to leave behind the childish MTV perceptions of the world. I had to become an adult like my parents. I had to go to work and drive in rush hour traffic and pay bills and do chores on the weekend. I had to leave behind the constant pursuit of pleasure. But that was easier said than done, because what was inside of me, the habits that I had developed, the inclinations that I'd formed for years from imitating one rock star or another, that still remained inside of me. And so I was not well equipped for a 9 to 5, for rush hour traffic, for coworkers, for chores, for paying bills, for mature adult responsibilities. So even though I left the MTV life behind, it was still deep inside of me. I still pursued pleasure. I still pursued wealth because it's all I knew. It's what I understood happiness to be. It was, in my mind, the purpose of life. Hindsight is 20/20, and looking back, I understand so much more now than when I was younger. I understand that in my pursuit of pleasure, I hurt a lot of people who I really cared about. I understand now that I didn't view people as people, but only as a means to an end. I understand now that for much of my life, I was a terrible source of suffering for many people. To this day, when many people remember me, they remember the pain and the suffering that I caused them. And now I realize that there's no words that are sufficient, and there's no means for me to ever fix the damage that I've done. And now all I have is regret and shame. I pray for God's mercy, for my sins, and for the people that I've hurt. I'm thankful for the sacrifice that he made on the cross for me, and I pray that somehow he will repair all of the terrible damage that I've done. But still, I thought I should make this video for all of the young men out there who may still be confused about the purpose of this life, to caution you from this endless pursuit of pleasure. We live in a world that only cares about pleasure, and out there, they will step on anyone to get what they want. And when they're done, they throw their victims away like garbage. Don't be like them. Pleasure will never bring you happiness. It will be fruitless, it will end in despair and hopelessness, and it will hurt a lot of people that you love. God puts you here to serve, to give your life away to your friends and to your family, not to use them for your own gain, but to suffer and die for them, for their gain. And there is no MTV rock star who can teach you this. There is no celebrity who can form you in this type of life. Catholics get a lot of criticism about our admiration of saints from the very same people who are compromised by this world, who follow and adore rock stars and Hollywood celebrities and superstar athletes. They follow them on Twitter, and they buy their clothing and their shoes, and they model their lives after them. And then they criticize us for following the simplicity of St. Joseph or of St. Francis. For the young men watching who are stuck in this cycle of hedonism, this constant pursuit of pleasure, keep St. Dominic's words with you at all time. He said, "A man who governs his passions is master of the world. We must either command them or be enslaved to them. It is better to be the hammer than the anvil." Young men, be the hammer, not the anvil. Click here to watch the last video, and remember, if we learn this faith, if we live this faith, and if we share this faith, what will the next 100 years look like? Join the mission. American cities were taken over for the first time in our country's history, while mayors and governors